count down. You just have to say 3, 6 times, you know? And I gotta wait for Instagram anyway, so it doesn't matter.
3.
We're just
2.
live on everything else.
3.
1.
3.
Snap, crackle, pop.
I'm in.
All right, hold on 1 second. She's gonna.
1 or 3?
Matt, while we're waiting for Instagram to kick in, do you want to get something to drink before? You don't have to get up later and get.
Dude,
It's rough around these parts. You got to be careful. We're drinking water. All right, boys. Enough is enough. We're back here on the Outdoor Drive Podcast.
Is it a pile? Is it a pile on the floor?
It's a pile of bourbon.
Oh my god. Well, we're live back here on the Outdoor Drive Podcast. If you couldn't tell by the laugh, we have the man himself, Mr. Matt Wettish, or AKA we call him Wet Ass. But
hey, I'll accept that, man. I haven't heard that in a while.
So we are excited to have him back on, and we're looking forward to spending the weekend with him at the Connecticut Outdoor Fishing and Hunting Show. But without further ado, Matt, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you actually do? I'm not even sure what you do, but can you tell them?
I make booze, man.
What you did.
And test them.
Yeah.
Make it easy, I guess. I was in the outdoor industry for about 25 years or so. On a national level, hunted and fished over half the country, been on ESPN, OLN, the Outdoor Channel, all that stuff. I still write, done stuff for Outdoor Life, Field and Stream, NRA, NWTF, Ducks Unlimited, all sorts of stuff. I've got products that are out on the market that I've helped design, all sorts of stuff. I've championship turkey caller. I've won multiple state championship titles, called at the Grands. I actually have a guy right now who's supposed to have 2 guys calling at the Grands this year, but one couldn't make it down. So I've got 1 guy calling at the Grands this year. And fishing side, I don't know, fishing, saltwater, freshwater. Was captain of the Jack Daniels fishing team. Got to meet the head distiller of Jack Daniels. I don't know.
You did it all. You know what's kind of funny?
And now I make booze for a living. Now I'm a full-time distiller.
I want to tell you this story, and this is kind of funny. I don't think I've actually told you this, Matt. So one day I was sitting watching YouTube, right? So I go back through, and mind you, Matt, you've been a mentor to me for quite some time, and
Dude, I'm sorry.
No, we've had a lot of fun together, and I consider you a brother. And it was
Absolutely.
funny is one day I was sitting on the couch and I'm scrolling back through all the old videos, all your old videos, right? So I'm sitting there and I call up Marty, and
This
I'm
is
like,
your story. I remember this phone conversation.
I'm like, Marty, do you realize how cool Matt Wettish is?
No. Did you say is or was?
Was.
Was. Definitely not is.
I said, dude, he's like the Northeast Drury. Like he is that man. Like that's who he is to us. Like he's the fucking man. Like that's who he
Then
is.
you got to know me and go, what the fuck?
Well, no, this is I had already known, it's kind of like you don't judge a book by its cover, and you then just find out like later on, but you go back through and I'm like, dude, there's a lot of videos. Matt has a lot of videos, but like old school ones back when like you were carrying big cameras and like shitty transitions between screen to screen, all the old school,
bad.
The Call from the Wild and all that kind of stuff. And it was really cool.
Just the other night, I'd seen it before, but just as a refresher, because I hope we talk about it tonight. But I watched the old Mealy Master video, and it was like, dude, that was with Field and Stream. Like they came to Connecticut to fish with Matt Wettish in the Farmington River, and I'm like, that's Matt Wettish. Like they came to you to fish with you, and you showed them what's up. Like it was awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I do. You guys know. I mean, well, Marty, you were just up. I call them my kids. I mentor a lot of kids. I mentor a lot of people. I just got inducted into the National Wild Turkey Federation Hall of Fame up here in New England. And you know, I do reflect back, and you want me to get serious. I mean, I do reflect back, and I truly do feel blessed because we don't really have that steeped history that a lot of the country does in hunting and fishing. And it was a blessing, man. I mean, you talk about jury. I've got home video of me and Mark hunting together. I didn't have a learning curve. I had a learning spike. I mean, I got exposed to literally the best people in the world, and I've been blessed to call them my friends and be able to help other people with it. And I've taken it myself to a different level, and I've excelled and really pressured myself to get better. But yeah, it's when I actually look back, a guy just released an article. He used to be the editor of the NWTF magazine, Turkey Call magazine, and he just released it, I think, a year or two ago. The whole full truth on the beginning of the pistol grip turkey gun. And I was the one. He states it, shows pictures, everything, because I tried to bring it to market for Mossberg. They said it would never go. I made a gun for him. He went to work with Franke. Benelli obviously owned Franke, or Stoger. I'm sorry. He went to work for Stoger Publishing. Stoger was dealing with Benelli because they own them. And that's how he brought it to Benelli. But he tells the entire story of how I started it and did that. I've got a pistol grip turkey gun, Mossberg, in the 25th anniversary issue of the National Wild Turkey Federation, in an article that I wrote before any pistol grip turkey guns were on the market. So it's it's crazy, man. When you really, I mean, I see them all the time, and I'm just like, oh wow, no shit.
That really wasn't fake.
Right? And then I got to go back to Mossberg. What was even funnier is I got to go back to Mossberg when they finally started doing one. And I walk up to him and I nudge him. And I'm like, you could have been first, right? And obviously he looks at me, he goes, fuck you.
But it's crazy that, you've been and influenced a lot of people from the start of your career, Matt. Like, from what you have done to what you have done today. I mean, and still throughout those steps, you have taken kids, us delinquents.
You and I went out and took a kid out, I mean, it's.
I like the term hooligan better than delinquent. Anyways, I find offense to that,
but it's funny is that, Matt, you honestly you put yourself in that position to then take on a lot of responsibility to help a lot of people out, and you've just given back to the community throughout your whole entire thing. I mean, how many seminars have you done and gotten friends and done this and hunted with people, and it's really what it's all about. And it was all before social media was even a thing. I mean, social media wasn't a thing. And you just, now it's kind of funny and I, not to be negative, but like, everybody thinks that they're a superstar and they can hunt and film and all these other things, but there's a lot more motive and a lot more things that go behind this. It's not just being an influencer on YouTube. It's doing seminars and spending time with people.
Earning your stripes.
And it's a hard thing to do. Earning your stripes is not an easy task. And you have to, how many times have you given up the gun to somebody else to shoot something and not done it yourself?
I barely carry a gun now.
My point.
You look at the videos now, not many of them are me shooting stuff.
No. You still get jacked up when you do, though.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. I'm still like,
so...
I love it, dude. It's the day I don't shake, the day I don't freak out is the day I stop. You can't.
Well, we'll be putting you in a pine box. I don't know what you're talking about that day. That's that day.
Pretty much, man. It's addicting. It's they say it's not a passion, it's an obsession. I don't think it's either, man. I think truly and honestly, I think it's just who you are. It's in your body. It is, because it's not something I want to do. It's not something that I strive to do or anything like that.
Mhm.
I have to do it. It's part of who I am. And I'm looking at the time, just so you guys know. My girl's going to be rolling in here probably in the next 15 minutes, and Goose is going to go ape shit. So
He does every time.
just forewarning. We got to do this fucking thing earlier so he doesn't go crazy in the middle of it. Go, stop it.
That's part of having a dog. Why don't we just get right into it? Because we wanted to talk about the whole Mealy Master thing. We've talked to you about turkey hunting, and we'll probably circle back around with it. But I'd really like to touch base, and we don't talk a lot about it, but is fishing and trout fishing and some of the great things that we have here, even in Connecticut, New England, is some of the best fisheries there is, honestly.
Yeah. And I've taken it. You get into the Mealy Master thing, and I've taken that out to Montana, and it's been tried across the country. It's how that blew up is just beyond me. It's unbelievable how something that I just you can hear him, can't you?
Yeah,
I'm gonna punch him in the head.
Yeah.
Getting flashbacks from last October.
Lay down.
Huh, Matt?
What's that?
Flashbacks to last October, and I was in that layup line next to you. Goose, get out! Goose, get out!
I mean, they're wrestling,
and I'm popping my head out. He said goose. He said goose.
Right. So,
it's not a good name for a hunting dog.
Yeah, I know, right? Well,
how many
when I had to put my other dog down, somebody rolled up to me. It was literally just when the new Top Gun was coming out.
Oh.
And somebody rolls up and says, dude, I heard about your dog. And they're like, I'm sorry. And they're like, so what are you going to call your next wingman? I'm like, son of a bitch. Because you always want something that's right, And I'm like, fuck, man. It's like, it's his wingman, and it was his best buddy. And it fits with Goose, and he's my best buddy and the whole deal. And, it's the other thing was, so his actual registered name is Upriver's Wingman. So the wingman, the whole hunting geese, wingman, goose, the whole, it just worked. So his registered name is Upriver's Wingman, and his call name is Goose. So I had to do it, man. It fit. It worked.
That's a good fit. What a good fit.
So tangent done. Back to I'm done yelling at the dog. For now.
For 5 minutes.
So back to the fishing thing. Yeah. It's so weird that it started with something that my grandmother actually taught me how to trout fish. She was an incredible fisherwoman. And all stream fishing, ultralight, 4-pound test, 4.5 foot ultralight, handmade rods, all custom rods. I mean, she was a psycho, crawling into like little streams and casting around shit. And it was just awesome. And then when I was old enough to go with the guys and go with dad and everything, then I started going with them. My father's a great fisherman. But then I got into fly fishing. And I'm like, wow, this is next level. This is crazy. So I started fly fishing, tying my own flies, did saltwater, freshwater, trout, bass, the whole deal. And when I got kind of done with that, things kind of came full circle. And I said, wow, to be a very accomplished fly fisherman, I don't know very many. Before Lefty Cray ended up passing away, I actually got to hang out with him and get lessons for casting and all, and just crazy stuff. And to make the perfect drift on a nymph, everybody's using, they're basically spin fishing with a fly rod now and a fly. They're drifting they're bumping a weight along the bottom. That's not fly fishing. Use a weighted bead head and get that drift right, and mend that line and do that. I was okay, and I caught a lot of fish. I do not feel that I was very good or excellent or even close. So I said, all right, if I could take what I've learned from fly fishing and the technical presentation of true throwing and casting nymphs and move that into the effectiveness of bait and a spinning rod, shit could get ugly. So I started studying rod length and immediately went to my ultralight little rods, And as I stepped up, I was working with Fenwick to try and get longer rods, ultralight, that weren't too whippy, that were responsive. And a guy from Eagle Claw, because I was using Eagle Claw hooks, sent me one of his 6.5 foot rods. He goes, I know you're going to laugh at me, but try this. 6.5 ultralight. I was like, holy shit. Now I start talking, now with Fenwick, I'm like, you need to get something over 7. And they never ended up getting what I wanted over 7. They got, they got stuff over 7, but not to what I wanted. Didn't have the speed. It was too whippy. But so I tested all different rods and lengths, ended up going upwards of 7 feet. That's what I use now, a 7 foot rod, ultralight. I tested braid, mono, copolymer, fluoro, braidwood leader, all, the whole gamut of lines and how they reacted, because your mono is going to float a lot more than what do you call it?
The braid?
Fluorocarbon.
The fluoro, yeah. So the fluoro sinks. So I'm like, all right, you're drifting. You need it to sink. You don't want it. Plus, it's a lot clearer. I mean, it disappears in the water, especially when you get down to 2-pound test. It's gone. So then I started actually testing hooks. Bait hooks are too heavy. They actually sink the bait to the bottom and they don't drift right. So one day I'm going through hooks and I'm looking through something and I'm sitting there and we got a tube and I'd put rocks in the clear tube and I'd send water down it and drop with no line on it, drop a mealworm in with a hook and watch what it did going down through the tube with water. And it would just go bunk and it'd hit on the bottom and it'd roll and all that. So I started trying to get lighter hooks and all that. And I just ran out of hooks to mess with. And I looked in my fly stuff and there's a size 12 hook, a scud hook that's got a bent shaft to it. And I started using that. And because the diameter of that metal is so small, that thing just went bunk. And it just kind of floated down so natural. It was insane. And to the point where when you're fishing, you could actually get it up and break the surface of the water and it'll float on the surface. So it's really cool. I spent probably, it sounds stupid, but I spent like 10 years testing line, hooks, rods, reels, and actually bait. I went to mealworms. I was using, I tried earthworms. I tried night crawlers. I tried the red worms, all different stuff. Mealworms have 3 different sizes: regular, giants, and supers. And I actually tested all 3. And without a doubt, the giant, which I figured the super, which is even, go big or go home, send a big one down. The giant outfished both of them hands down, not even a comparison. So it's I got really freaking stupidly anal on it for no reason whatsoever. But then I started catching fish and people were getting pissed at me because it just got like, it got stupid. I got really good at it. And they started writing articles. People found out about it. Outdoor Life was one of the first ones to do an article on it. They sent a guy. They were doing Fish Across America, and they picked one person from each state. And they came and they fished with me, and we just crushed trout. And the guy couldn't believe it because he saw like 2 or 3 fish being caught all day. And I think we caught like 12.5.
Wow. And so when you're doing that natural presentation is what you're keeping that right in that strike zone by doing that.
So there's sorry. So I guess if you want to step back to reading water,
right?
What people don't realize is that there are 3 speeds, basically, actually 4 speeds to a river. The surface area, a lot of the reasons why there's ripples on the surface, because you have wind, you have friction. Obviously, the bottom can churn it up and make waves, but the ocean doesn't have waves because of rocks. The ocean has waves because of surface tension. And as the ocean is moving, it's moving against air currents, which create waves. So the same thing happens on a river. The water gets affected, that top layer of water gets affected by the air, and it is not the same speed as the water below it. So your surface speed is 1. That's why when you're fly fishing and you throw out a nymph, all of a sudden your line does all crazy shit because it's being dragged at different speeds. So you've got surface speed, you've got center speed, and then you have your bottom speed, which is dealing with the friction of the bottom. It's got rocks, it's got weeds, it's got whatever, and it's dealing with that. So now you got 3 different speeds there, and then you have your speeds on the edges where the water gets thinner. I call it thinner, but shallower. So you really got to look at how are you going to weight your presentation to where you're casting, how deep it's going to go, how fast that water's traveling, the type of structure. Do you want it to go down and bounce bottom exactly, or do you want it to kind of bump along? There's so many different things. You add too much weight and you're getting hung up immediately.
Right.
But I always tell people, if you're not getting hung up, you're not where the big fish are. You got to get to the bottom.
Typically, what's that weight setup? So you're just running like a small split shot? And then
running a split shot anywhere from 18, 24, 30 inches, depending on the clarity of the water and the speed and the depth. Speed and the depth, I bring it closer to the hook, because if it's longer, that speed will keep it up here. And you want it to get closer to the bottom. So I usually keep 2 different size split shot in my vest. I keep a B and a BB. Those are the 2 smallest. Well, they go smaller, but those are the 2 basic small weight sizes. And I always use water gremlin, because not every split shot is the same. A lot of inexpensive split shot are second use lead, and they're harder, denser, and they're sharper coming out of the mold, and they'll cut and damage your line. So I've found that first use lead, which is what water gremlin uses, is softer, and it does not damage even 2-pound test fluoro. I've never had a weight cut me.
So on that presentation, is the split shot bouncing off the bottom, and then the mealworm staying up above? Okay.
Yep. And I mean, I've gotten to the point where I've walked up to a water piece of water and said, okay, this is 2 weights, and throw it in. Nope. And I'm using 2 Bs, and I'm like, all right. So I do like half dozen. I fish all over it, maybe a dozen casts. I'm not catching anything. I'm like, I know there's fish in here. There's got to be. Bite off one, put a BB on. So now I'm doing a B and a BB. Little bit more weight. First cast. Oof. Bring it in. Couple more casts. Boom. You're getting it into that zone where it's not passing over them as just shrapnel. It's actually being presented to them in the feed zone. So you've really got to be acutely aware of that bounce on the bottom and how you're getting down there. So when I cast, I always quarter up the stream so it passes down in front of you. So you 45 it up. And what I do is as soon as it hits the water, I lift up my rod and reel up the slacks so there's nothing touching the water. Because as I said, that surface tension is going to drag it. You're going to end up with that big loop. Mm-hmm. And then what's going to happen is going to take your bait and it's going to rip it.
Suck it right out of that stream.
Exactly. It's going to go so fast. It's not going to be natural. And what you do is you follow and you'll actually reel in as it's coming towards you and then just kind of let it go past.
So is that part of why 7-foot rod helps you keep it way up high out of the water? Yeah.
Yep. And handling that 2-pound test. Because when you get big fish and, all of a sudden you've got a 5-pound brown in a current on 2-pound test, we're catching 22, 24 inch. I got it the last time not the last time, but the time before that I was at the river, I got a 24 3/4 inch brown in a river on 3-pound test. That's like to about there, dude. My whole arm.
It's so it's very similar, honestly, as to what they do in Pennsylvania and New York, like steelhead fishing. Pin fishing. Well, yeah, or I do it with a spinning rod on a 8.6 light action spinning rod, but it's the same thing, and you just kind of bounce it. And the one of the things, that we do when I do it, and I kind of brought it back home too, is we run. So you have your main line goes into a very tiny 3-way swivel, and then you run a leader off of it, and then off of the 3-way swivel, put a little tag line and use small, tiny drop shots. And it's the same thing so that you're getting that same flow of tension. But one of the things we do is we leave that loop in the line, and that's sometimes that's a very unnatural presentation.
Right. And that's the other thing too. Anything beyond the weight in the hook, it's too much. It's too much going on. It's too much weight. There's no, I don't use a leader. I don't use a swivel. I don't use a ball bearing swivel or, a Sampo ball bearing or whatever, or a Roscoe. It is straight mainline 2-pound test, my entire line. And I can present to rising trout and throw it out there and just pop it so it comes up to the water, and it'll break that surface tension and float and just bring it right into their realm and just twitch it as soon as it gets to where they were. And a mealworm represents a larva. Who knows? Is it a stonefly nymph? Is it, it doesn't have legs on it, but the freaking thing's a bug, man, that smells or whatever. They identify that as a critter.
Right.
And they can identify like stupid shit. I was fishing August timeframe, Salmon River, Connecticut salmon, not New York. You know how low it gets. I'm sure both of you guys have fished the salmon late season. I can piss more than water goes through there. It's ridiculous. Right. Pleased to meet you. So I used to take back. This is how crazy I used to get. I used to rivers that went between two areas that were stocked. Late season, I had a topographical program that I could take a point here and take a point there on the map, and it would cross section it and give me the declination of altitude as it goes down. So I'd be able to sit there and say, okay, this drops like 15 feet within 100 yards. You're gonna have pools. So we'd like trek down through the woods and find these deep holes that these holdovers would end up finding. And ultimately we did that on the salmon, and I found this insane trench and went down there, and you could just see it was a fish tank. I couldn't tell you, mate, a dozen and a half, 2 dozen trout sitting in it.
In August.
Yeah. And I would throw the mealworm in and drift it through, and one would come up and smash it. And I'd drift it out of the pool and, get it out so I wasn't disturbing everything, and go in there, and I'd throw in again, and I'd watch, and a fish would come up, and the mealworm would be coming down. The fish would come up and stop and freaking drift with it and deny. The trout would freeze, dude. It would come up and literally just go, doop. No more swimming. It would just freeze and drift backwards with it, like this far from it, and it just looking at it. And I'm like, holy shit. And it would just go, and it would just swim away. So I bring it in, and I looked at it, and I knew where that fish was. And I'm looking at the fish. I'm like, son of a bitch, the eye on the hook was exposed. I pulled it in, threw it back. That fish didn't just come up. It just slammed it. And I'm like, same bait, same everything. It was insane. So the attention to what you do will increase your catch, because this is stuff you don't see. Unless you got a camera under there, you don't see denials.
Right.
You don't see, man, if I just kept twitching it, twitch, let it sit. Twitch, oh, that's what works. But if you're twitching, that fish comes up, you stop twitching, swims away. Who knows? The twitch is what got him there. So same thing happened. I'm drifting over, and a fish comes up and hits it and misses it. Immediately put it back in. Drift. Nothing. Drift. Another fish kind of swims up and just comes back down. Drift. Another fish comes up, goes back down. Nothing's hitting it. I'm fixing it, putting it back on, going nothing. Finally, after like 10 freaking casts of them denying it, ripped it off, threw it, took out a fresh one, put it on, first cast, slammed it. No hesitation, no looking at it, no fanciness. Bam. So now if I get hit, or if it's not looking right, bait's cheap. I buy them by the thousands, dude. I buy 2,000 at the beginning of season from Rainbow and Rainbow Mealworms in freaking Compton. Bait out of Compton, baby.
I don't think so. Getting
What's that? Bait out of Compton.
I don't think it's the only thing you're getting.
Yeah, right. But and that's the other thing. I actually went through probably 3 or 4 different Rainbow suppliers, or Rainbow Mealworm suppliers, and those guys absolutely have the best product.
Suppliers.
Yeah. Yeah, the suppliers out of Compton.
We call them dealers, but
yeah.
But it's kind of funny, and we have this conversation a lot with a lot of different people, right? So presentation is 100%, right? And why would you mess around with it? It's the same thing, fluoro versus mono. There's a lot of these if, ands, or buts, whys. Why would you do that? Why would you spend this money on this? Why would you do this? Why would you do that when it comes to it? But perfection is the most important thing. Yes, you can catch fish on your great-grandfather's lure that that is all messed up or whatever, or some back ass rigged whatever, yes, you can catch fish on that. But that's the difference of catching 3 fish in a day and 25 fish in the day. It's a presentation thing.
Or the biggest fish in the pool.
Right, exactly.
Well, Marty, you said you watched the Mealy Master from Field and Stream. About halfway through that, there's a guy fishing there. He's actually got fucking blue rubber gloves on, so he's so he doesn't get mealworms on the thing. He's fishing with mealworms, and I go to Joe Stramelli, the guy from Field and Stream. I'm like, dude, when he leaves, we're gonna go up there and smash that pool. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, he's been in there for like 15, 20 minutes and he's caught one. I'm like, he's using mealworms, ultralight, whatever. And we knew what he was doing. And I go, no, dude, we're going to go up, use the exact same bait. And I'm going to prove to you again why what we do is so different, even though it's subtle. We went up there and just one after another raped the freaking pool. It was insane. And he could not believe it. He was just dumbfounded that same bait, same presentation, but not.
Right.
And it's that dramatically different.
Well, it's the difference when I have a discussion with somebody about fluorocarbon leader or using fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon is in a cylinder form, right? So think of it like your great grandmother had that little prism thing hanging in the window, right? And it would shoot all this thing. So if you think of monofilament, it's the same thing. When it hits it, it reflects off. And fluorocarbon's made in a cylinder. So when the light hits it, when it's in the water, it goes right through it. So it makes it almost invincible. And that's the difference of spending $15 on a spool of fluorocarbon over $4 in monofilament. And it can really pick up your strikes by tenfold just in that couple dollars difference just by using a fluorocarbon leader. Like that's a huge difference.
Yeah, we noticed it on 30 and 40 pound, 30 and 40 pound leaders for striper.
Right. 100%.
I mean, our take, our success at takes was insane.
Mm-hmm.
It changed incrementally. And, when you get to ultralight stuff, mono is just so buoyant that it just doesn't float the same. It doesn't present the same way.
It's also, correct me if I'm wrong, it's also a little bit more abrasive resistant too, no?
Yes and no. It is denser, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Right, Trev?
Yeah, it is.
But as Trev said, with light refraction, when it does get chipped, that light is seen. And it's a very volatile. I think mono stretches a little bit more. And I think it has a little bit more give to it. But the fluoro, you just got to watch it. You got to watch for rock abrasions and stuff like that, just like we do on our saltwater rigs, And
you're changing them out.
I was going to say, it's always good practice, especially when you're in those streams bouncing off of rocks and stuff. It's always good to check your line and maybe cut 6 or 12 inches off every couple fish or so.
I pull 3-4 feet, wrap it around my finger, stuff it in my pocket. It's when you put 2-pound test on an ultralight reel, you got like 225 yards or something. You got a lot to spare.
And it doesn't make sense, like especially with hookup ratios and stuff like that, to be really messing around with it. What's 2-3 feet, right? I mean, you have X amount of it, but you want to make sure, and then your strikes start to go down. But it's the same thing when you were talking about having a mealworm and not completely covering that hook shank when in your presentation, because when it moves back, I'm never gonna do that again. When it moves back, it has a different presentation where a mealworm like that actually will spiral if it comes back on that shank just a little bit more.
What do you got there? The clear?
Nah.
Oh, the bird.
Batch 3.
We'll see that at Mohegan, probably.
Yeah, you will.
Is that the special batch?
Yeah. Oh, no, this isn't the special barrel. This isn't the rum barreled stuff.
Oh, jeez.
I'm a fan of the mocha.
The mocha. If they could get the espresso right the first time.
No, I like the one where they got it wrong.
Yeah, right. Oh boy, that got you tore up from the floor up, Marty. You were all six tongues to the wind on that night.
We were actually talking about beard and booze today, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to come back. I may not be invited. So, question, Matt. So, devil's advocate. Obviously, you got the Mealy Master like down to a science. And you're a psycho, so you've tried everything. Did you ever try like a traditional fly on the ultralight spinner rod combo?
Oh, God,
like, what did you get for like? Why didn't you do that? Like, what didn't work?
Number one, bait is more effective.
Mm.
Period. I mean, I've gone up against so many people. I mean, no bullshit. I mean, you guys can come out with me, or I could send you to 20 different people that have fished with me. We will go to that river and you'll see a half dozen fish being caught, and between two people we'll catch 20 plus. And I mean a half dozen between, a dozen people. And people actually get pissed at us. Because I'll sit there and I'll wait. I'll sit there and just wait for a guy to leave a hole, because I know he's sitting there he's Euro nymphing. He throws it out as far as the weight will take it. And he does a drift. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, dude, you're standing where the fucking fish are, because he thinks he has to walk into the water. It's crazy how people, I stand at the edge. I don't just walk right in.
Right.
I stand at the edge and I fish my way into the river.
How many times do you make that first cast from like 10 or 12 feet from the shore?
Yeah.
Just because you want to make sure there's not a fish right there.
And
before you come chase home.
It's very true, man. People just walk in. It's like purring to a turkey. You don't need to fucking purr to a turkey. If he's coming to a yelp, keep yelping at him. Don't go, rup, 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 ooh. He's in at 60 yards. And just start fucking purring at him because you think you have to kill him. You don't need to walk into the water to catch a trout.
Right.
Your bait's got to be in the water. That's it. I'd much rather stand outside of water and catch a 20-inch fish than walk in and blow them out and maybe catch one 12-incher that wasn't bothered by it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right.
Pay attention to the water. I mean, those slipstream areas along the edge.
Well, a lot of times too, like, I don't know if people think that the fish are always going to be like in the middle of the body, right? But a lot of times when the way the streams and rivers through the terrain, right? A lot of times those pools are on your corners, so they're like on the outside corner, the inside corner, because that's the way the water kind of cut out the bottom of the river.
Correct.
So they're right up tight instead of out in the middle where it's shallow.
Yep. I mean, I'll see people all the time. They do this. They walk in, they go, and they walk right up to the edge, and they just go. They're looking for rises. And I'm like, dude, look for a rise 100 yards back and sneak up to the area. It's crazy. They'll walk right out of the woods, right to the edge of the river, and just stand there.
So Matt, we actually on Instagram, you guys can't see it, but actually somebody had posted on there. It was Chris Sava, and he said, "Never caught so many trout. Once I learned Matt's method, downright deadly. Fished it all over Connecticut and the Catskills. It works absolutely everywhere."
It's stupid. Way to go, Chris. He knows I'm not kidding.
Yeah. So It's proof. The proof is in the pudding. Like it definitely works no matter where you go and what you do.
Yeah. If you, I can honestly say this. I've had enough people do it, enough people try it, that if you put together the rig close to what we're doing and fish efficiently the streams, you're going to catch more fish. You absolutely will. If you half it and do 4 pound instead of 2 pound, you're still probably going to catch more fish. If you go to mono instead of fluoro, it's going to be cut down. You start using leaders and all that shit. Well, have fun with that.
We used to do the same thing in the farmy, so we would do something similar, right? Not with mealworms, but we would use pinhead shiners, and we would float them down through there, and we would outfish the fly guys, and they would lose their mind on us. I mean, straight lose their minds on us, because we were the,
the outcasts.
Like, there's a stigma there between isn't there a stigma there between artificial bait guys and live bait guys? Like they kind of use the live bait.
Well, it's more the fly versus spin.
Yeah,
fly versus spin, and then if you're a bait guy, you're really the
I'm shunned, dude. I am so shunned.
Like,
but what's funny is guys will come up and they'll come up and they'll see a 7-foot rod and they'll assume that I'm fly fishing.
Right.
And they'll start asking. I'll be like, oh, I saw some Cahills. I saw some Cahills hatching down there or whatever. And they'll be like, oh, well, what are you doing? And I'll tell them what's going on. Hey, babe.
Hey, babe.
Marty says, hey.
Trev calls me babe sometimes.
Yeah, he goes, you going to call him babe? So, the guy's like, what are you fishing for? Like, I literally just pulled in like a 22, 23 inch trout, released it correctly, hooked right on the lip, the whole deal. And that's the other thing too, because of the way we don't let the line set, you feel everything. You feel every bump. As soon as that fish takes it, I would say 90+% of all of our takes, the hooks are on the lip. So they're not swallowing them.
Your rod, so once you cast out there, you pick up, you keep the rod tip high, right? As it's coming downstream, you're keeping it up and you're just picking up slack as it comes down, right? So when that fish, it's just a simple.
I'll do it like fly. I take it actually, if you watch my videos, I do it like I'm fly fishing. I'll throw out, reel up, and as it's coming at me, I grab that line as if I was fly fishing. And I'll actually take that line and I'll take up that slack with that line.
Yep. As you're feeding
that. And what's good about that is because any of that slack line between you and that point of contact, you take it up just like when you're fly fishing. You take up that line, which takes up the bend of the rod, takes up any stretch, anything in the water, and you do that, and then you just fight it back to the reel, and then you bring it in. So there's a lot of fly technique put into the presentation of it.
I'm listening. I'm like, what do you use this on? No. It makes me almost want to go trout fishing again, dude. I haven't trout fished in years, but I'll tell you what, I'm down for some big brown.
So that actually brings up a good question. How do you pick and choose your trout fish? Because I used to be a big stream trout fisherman, and then this thing kind of got a hold of me called the turkey. And then all of a sudden it was like, dude, I'm not trout fishing Saturday morning in April because the turkeys are gobbling.
Oh, yeah.
I can't make the choice. So how do you make time for both, and when do you put down the turkey gun for the trout rod and
when turkey season's over?
Okay. So you're more like June, July, not all, because I think of trout like prime time April, May.
Exactly.
But that's turkey season now. You know what I mean? So,
but quite honestly, a lot of those fish get pushed into deeper areas. They get pushed into harder presented to areas.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that this technique works, it's very easy to present shit. I mean, the farm's not a small river. I mean, it's not giant, but it's a good sized river. It's certain it's not the Yellowstone or freaking the Madison or whatever, but I can, if I get into the water, I can fish the other side, and I can effectively fish the other side in most of that river, which most people can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the presentation that you can do. I mean, I use let's call them strike indicators. I actually use a strike indicator, and for all intents and purposes, I don't care who says what, it's a fucking bobber. And I use a strike indicator, and I'll throw it out there, and I will ultimately just kind of like pinfish. If I get into an area that is super slow and I cannot drift it, it will sink to the bottom, or because I can't get to it. If I put weight on to get to that area, it's going to hit the bottom and get hung up. So I'll use a strike indicator for fly fishing and get it over there and just set that depth to whatever it is, 2 feet, 3 feet, whatever, and just let it go.
No split shot now?
Nope.
So you're just letting
it'll just let it go. It'll just let
indicators on top, and then you're setting your depth, and it just sinks below, and you're just drifting it right over that hole.
Yep.
Bobber fish.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. I mean, the same thing with fly fishing, what you were talking about before, fly fishing with a spinning rod, running that bobber up. I don't know if you guys remember the ones that you'd fill with water.
Yeah.
And you could cast like 280 yards, just like, and just sit there like this for 45 minutes, bringing in a fly.
It's the same thing. They use it in the salt. They use one. It's very similar when you're sandworm fishing during sand hatches. They use the same thing. It's a wooden bobber, literally a wooden bobber with a little stake off the side at a 45-degree angle, and your hook stays on top of it. And when you cast out, it stays together. When it hits the water, your hook comes off of it, and you're literally bobber fishing in the salt because you can't get some of your smaller sand eel, sandworms, so on and so forth,
where they need
during some of those hatches. So they literally. Hey, listen, you improvise. I mean, I don't care what you call it. It's still bobber fishing. I don't care.
It is. Yeah. Strike indicator.
Yeah. Whatever.
You put your pinky up when you say it.
That's right.
I'm a man. I'm bobber fishing. Okay?
I'm bobber fishing.
Bobber fishing.
That's it, man. And you know what? I jacked probably one of the I've caught 24-inch trout. I've got this one specific area in the farm that it wraps around these rocks, and you can't get close enough to them. It's too deep. And I will put the biggest strike indicator I have, and it actually is a fly fish. It's made of foam,
right?
And it snaps onto your line. And then I'll put one weight about 2 feet down, and just hump that thing over there and just let it drift. And just keep mending the line, because that line's now floating on the surface. Right. As soon as you pick it up, it's going to move that bobber. And so you just got to keep mending that line. And as that thing drifts down through, all of a sudden you see, boom.
Yeah, because you just want it to catch the right current, and it's going to, the fish are sitting where they're sitting because of the current's bringing them food. And
that presentation is damn near flawless. I mean, that's why pinning is so incredible for salmon. And steelhead, steelies.
A lot of people pin fish for trout. I mean, it's a presentation thing, really. Yeah. And you're just mimicking that proper presentation when it comes to it. I mean, that's 9/10 of all fishing is proper presentation. I don't care what. I don't care if you're topwater fishing, if you're bottom bouncing. It doesn't matter. It's a presentation of whatever you're trying to match. I mean, it's just what it is.
Gonna match the hatch.
Gonna match the hatch.
That's it, man.
Gotta know what they want. They face north. Just let them rip.
Let it rip, tater chip.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, Matt, we're super excited for the upcoming show, man. And it's coming pretty fast, honestly. A couple.
You guys are going to be talking deer.
Yeah.
with these freaking with those fake freaking heads you got behind you that I know you bought the antlers from somebody.
Yeah,
That's
picked it up from the yard sale yesterday.
Fucking eBay.
Yeah.
That one behind Marty there on the left, that one, when you walk past it, doesn't it talk?
Yeah.
Doesn't it go?
Remember the
it
old
sings something, doesn't it?
What was the old it was a bass on the wall that used to sing there right now.
Bubba Bass. Billy Bass or Bubba
Take
Bass,
me
right?
to the river.
Hey, nothing you can't buy on eBay. You
That's
call
right.
me whatever you want, but no, we're excited because I think it's gonna be our first little debut at doing something together and doing a seminar.
Saddle stuff, dude.
Between the two
That's
of us.
awesome.
So be kind of cool, and I think there's a lot of really cool things, and watching that whole thing grow and being there and hanging out, and we've done it for a handful of years, and just the community as itself, like just
it's fun, man,
that they've built, and it's not a lot of people get involved with a lot of this stuff, and I think that more people should give it more
without
of
a doubt
and spend more time there. So
I don't care if there's one person in my seminars, and this year I'm going to do the same thing as I did last year. I've done so many seminars in the state, and it gets to the point where they're cookie cutter.
Right.
It's the same shit, different day, and everybody goes, "Oh, if I learn one thing, it's worth it." And you're right. But last year, I'm going to do the same thing this year. I'm just going to talk about dirty, rotten scoundrel shit that I do to be successful. The down and dirty stuff I do to kill birds.
You're going to switch it up a little this year?
I'm talking about killing.
Yeah. Well,
that's it. It's just fun. like we were talking about before with purring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is so fucking stupid. I have literally killed, well, I've only killed like a half dozen birds anyways, but I've literally only killed a couple or a few birds my entire life. I killed my first bird in 1988. I've only killed a few actually that I attribute to purring. If a bird's coming in yelping and you're yelping to it, why change it? You watch all these videos, and as soon as the bird gets closer, going, it's like, Jesus, the bird came from a quarter of a fucking mile away to your yelp. Why are you changing? It's stupid.
I only kill my birds from purring. The only way
you purr them in from 200.
Dude, just purr.
Dude, all I know how to
freaking, he's got a special purr thing with a microphone on it.
Yeah, exactly, a microphone, and you got I twist up a piece of bark and I make a megaphone.
Right. An altered moose call.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Only purr. If they don't gobble to a purr, I'm not killing them. That's the way it goes. No, but I think you're right though, Matt, with doing your seminars like that, and a lot of the things is get rid of the nitty gritty. People that have been talked about for so long, and you have to do this, you have to do that, and you have to have matching camouflage, and you have to have this, and you got to have that. I mean,
there is so much shit that I do wrong,
and it works. It's really weird.
Every once in a while I get lucky.
That's cool. I'm excited now to sit in a seminar. So, I don't know, like you said, your seminar, it hasn't really changed a whole lot in the last couple of years. And I can't tell you how many times I've sat in on your seminar. Even though I've already seen it, I always come to one every show.
Right.
I've seen it enough where I could probably almost regret half of it myself. But you know what? I always pick up something every time. Something I didn't pick up the last time I heard you do it. It just strikes me different on that particular moment. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of that before,
What's funny is it probably one of the biggest things, and this is what really triggered me to changing my seminar to, and I wish that we could promote it as just killing, but that's not going to fly on, WTNH and Fox and all that stuff with it. And Matt Wettish doing just killing, just killing turkeys. But I would say one of the biggest things that I always get response from when I get out of a seminar is that story that I always talk about, the scenario with a crow call.
Uh-huh.
And that bird that won't commit and using the crow call. My crow call, fuck, dude, if I forget that, I might as well just stop.
Mm-hmm.
I've killed so many birds because of a crow call, and it is absolutely imperative. And people don't realize they just use it as a locator. They don't use it as a tool. And it is a freaking killing tool.
Well, I think the failure where a lot of people go wrong is that they throw the kitchen sink at him on the first run. That is that's one of the things. I mean, you're playing chess, not checkers. I mean, and I think a lot of people are still playing checkers and they're not playing chess, where they're showing all their cards first. They don't have a good poker face, and they're not keeping the tools in the bag that need to be used to be able to make themselves successful. So if you're using everything that you have and you have nothing else to throw at them, like a crow call or something like that, then you're not going to be successful because you're not using them in the right manner. It's like, the U.S. Army doesn't go in and throw a nuke right from the beginning. I mean, it's just not how you go. I mean, you know what I'm saying, though?
Well, that's how you win.
Listen, I understand.
It's just a big racer.
I think a lot of that in their defense. I think a lot of that comes from YouTube and watching shit on, edited down, chopped down hunts, and it's a 12-minute turkey hunt edited, and everybody expects like instant success. He gobbled, he should be on his way. Why haven't I killed him yet? And I think people lose, the patience, and like sometimes you got to work that bird. Sometimes you got to stay with that bird. You might have to move on that bird 3 different times before you finally get the setup right and have the right presentation. And he comes in and reads the script and you kill him. But you can't really learn that from YouTube all the time.
Right.
So when that bird's hung up, or he's just gobbling over the ridge, it's like, well, now I got to try this. Now I got to purr. Now I got to hit him with this. Now I got to get the pot call. Now I got to get the box call. Just because they're like almost forcing it too much because, that 12-minute YouTube hunt's already over. Like, why haven't I killed this bird yet?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very good point. Very good point, man. And it's absolutely true. There's such a preconceived notion, and that's what I want to try and break. There's such a preconceived notion of what you need to do and how you need to go at it. There's so many falsifications out there that I think it's just from reiteration. People aren't learning as much from experience anymore. Right. They're going out and they're getting information somewhere else, and if they're successful, they're immediately, informed.
Right.
And it's the failures that make you informed. It's my 6 or 7 turkeys that I killed went with freaking, 600 or 700 that I didn't.
Right. Right. It's the same in the white.
And it's the same. It's the saying of freaking, what's his name? The light bulb dude. He didn't figure out, he figured out 600 ways how not to make a light bulb.
The thing,
yeah. Good old Tommy boy.
In their defense, and I've talked about this before a lot more with like whitetail hunting, but it's even probably worse with turkey hunting. We're in the age of information, right? So I can listen to a turkey hunting podcast every single day of the year at work, right? I can come home every night and watch turkey hunting videos on YouTube. Let's say I'm a weekend warrior. I might only turkey hunt 4 Saturdays a year. So my time I can consume the information is like way more than the time I can actually spend learning it firsthand. So there's this huge imbalance of people have the knowledge but lack the experience because you only have so much time out of the year that you can actually get real life experience.
Dude, that was so eloquently put, dude. Did you write that down?
Yeah, I kind of been working on it a little bit. So
wow, Marty pulls one out of his. That's fantastic.
I might do a seminar,
That was awesome.
But it is true. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's not to point the finger, blame anybody. Like, you're not a bad guy. Like, I do the same thing, man. Like, I love ripping podcasts and trying to listen to all these experts and learn as much as I want, but you still need real life experience, because that's when you really get it done. And like I said, you only get, whether it's deer hunting or turkey hunting or trout fishing, you only get so many hours a year physically actually doing it.
Yeah.
It goes back to that woodsmanship thing, where when we were younger, and kind of making this full circle, is Matt himself and the things that he had done in his career, and us also, Steve. We didn't have YouTube. We had Field and Stream magazine. We would wait every single time that something would come out so we could read an article.
Run and take the longest shit you could so you could sit there and read it.
Exactly. And there was also videos, right? So you would wait out for the new monster bucks to come out, or whatever the case may be. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't have none of those things. We learned our woodsmanship by being a woodsman.
Well, that was back, like I said, it's off balance now. Back then, there was more time in the woods than like where you had other magazines and books, man. Like, I have a box here of fucking books, dude. I used to read books like a nerd, man, and like I'm still a nerd, but it's more digitalized now. Back then, it was like I was ordering books and waiting like 2 weeks for it to show up at my house, and like highlighting shit and putting notes on the side. You know what I mean? And now you just type it in Google and go, how do I shoot a turkey in the face? You know,
somewhere like my grandfather, like North American whitetail books,
North American Hunter, North American Whitetail,
exactly. Like hard copy books, like the whole collection, and you would look at it and it would be like turkey found in this area, this and this, and that's how you gathered your information. That's where we got all of that, and then we would then apply it in the field. This track does this. This is a hen track. This is a tom track. This is a buck track. This is a doe. But we learned those things by doing, and not social media aspect. And there was this quick change. And now everybody's a professional. And it's like, no, not so much. You spent a 16th of the time that you should be in the woods to say that you're a professional. But
I basically, I would say maybe 10 years ago, I stopped considering any company that I deal with as a pro staff. That term used to be an honor to have. That term has lost its weight. It's now earned by clicks. And clicks means entertaining, you know. And sure, I'm not throwing the broad blanket out that includes everybody, because trust me, there's a ton of freaking insane knowledge out there. It like out of control. But I've seen pro staff people that I'm like, how, you know, and it's because they get so many clicks and they're gonna, promote this code and do whatever. They're instantly a pro staff. Back in the day, you had to earn it. How many seminars were you doing? Are you doing competitions? Are you shooting 3D archery competitions? Are you doing turkey calling competitions, waterfowl competitions? I mean, I've won duck, goose, and turkey calling competitions. I judged the worlds for the goose calling competitions, called at the Grands. I mean, on and on. It's, you earn your stripes. And nowadays it's not like that.
I hate to say it, but it's the same thing with like wanting the instant gratification and instant success in the woods with the successful hunt. It's the same thing with the influencer, right? Like everybody wants instant pro staff or instant this or instant that, and it's like, dude, there's a process. Like you got like you said, you got to earn your stripes. You got to put in the work, and like good things come.
The companies that I work with now, I don't consider them pro people or anything like that. I have relationships with these companies. I mean, I've been with Winchester since the 90s. It's crazy. So yeah, that's.
Have you seen a pro staff like form and what they actually look like?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
disgusting.
they've been sent to me.
It's
I
they,
tell them straight up, no.
they like, oh, what's your social media outlet? How many followers do you have on YouTube? Like, and my fighting thing is like, um, we do a ton of shows. We're in person. We do seminars. We do gatherings. We do, mentoring moments. We go to this. We go to that.
Hands
Like,
on.
it's a totally different thing. I can show you the clicks. You want to see the clicks, but it doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't mean anything to me. This is what means the thing is when I'm talking to little Johnny, and little Johnny, when I taught him when he was 12 and now he's 16, and that kid that's more important, or sitting down in a room of 15 people that truly believe everything that comes out of your mouth, because that is more important than some pro staff. I mean, hey, listen, if I was a girl, let me be honest with you though. If I was a girl and I could shake my butt and I had some type of huntress thing, I'd probably be pro staff and everything I could.
I was just going to say something similar, a little different than that. And I always try to look at it from both sides of the coin, right? Give people the benefit of the doubt. If I was 16 years old again and pure whitetail wanted me to put a bottle in front of the deer when I kill it, I'm all about that life, right? Like, you're a fucking kid, dude. Like, some company reaches out to you because you have an Instagram page. Like, dude, that's a big deal, right?
I just worked with a company that I'm not going to say who it was, but a company, I got in touch with a company through a mutual friend, and they were interested in getting me product, and expensive product, a lot of money. So we get into a meeting, and they said, so, what's your Instagram account? I go, I don't have one. And they go, well, what's your Twitter account? And I go, I don't have one.
X.
And they go, well, what about it's X? what about your Facebook? I go, it's private. They're like, what? I go, it's locked. I said, I will not open it to the public. And they're like, how do you promote? And I'm like, the people that I have are industry people that are influencers. I said, I have had way too many people crawl my Facebook account to get to other people.
Right.
My account, if you're not friends with that person, you don't see it. You don't see who they are. I've got editors, TV guy. I mean, all these people. If you're not friends with them, you're not getting there. But I have that reach. I have that reach to people that are influencing and all that. And they were like, what's your address? And they sent it. I told listen, you want feedback, you want truth, you want exposure. This is what I do. I do it face to face.
I think it's
that's a lost art in itself too, because of social media and all that stuff. Like, people are not as comfortable talking face to face and communicating and having real life conversations with people because they're used to, like, through a screen or text messaging or emailing and all that. Yeah, boom, right here.
That's it, bro.
Yeah,
that's how they know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. Well, Matt, let's get one more question in before we kick you off of here. And that is, what drives you outdoors?
You, brother. Come on. Man, it's got to be different from the other ones, right? What gets me outdoors, honestly, I've gotten to the point, man, I love sharing it. I love being behind the fucking camera. I love seeing the excitement of other people. I love being out with my girl and catching fish, my dog, my friends, you guys, freaking Marty, I got you out goose hunting, man. Brother, we got out. We freaking had a blast.
Oh, yeah.
It's truly enjoying it, man. That's what gets me out there. I'm done with all the shit, man. I mean, there's a reason, I've passed up bigger deer than I've ever shot because I had to, because of where I was. And that's not who I am, man. I don't measure antlers. I measure back straps. So to me, you measure the experience. I want a Boone and Crockett experience out in the field. That's what I want. And that doesn't mean killing the biggest. It doesn't mean tagging out. I tagged out. Fuck, I can't tell you the last time I tagged out in Connecticut. Jesus, are you kidding me? I won't even get into that shit. 5 fucking birds.
Tagging out means you end your season too early.
Right. Nah, it's
you want to hunt the whole season. You got to save one tag at least.
I got plenty of battery life in my camera. Let's go.
I love it. Matt, as always a great pleasure. It'll be a couple of weeks and we'll be together hanging out.
Dude, we're going to have fun, man. That's always a blast.
Looking forward to it. If you guys want to come and check us out, we'll be at the Mohegan Sun show in the Mohegan Sun Arena.
And we're going to do a Birds and Booze again, aren't we?
Birds and Booze is definitely on the
You're on the shit list, Marty, but yeah, well, maybe we'll have to put like a nipple on your glass or something.
It's not gonna stop him.
He'll just suck quicker.
Listen,
suck quicker.
It was your fault. Okay,
it's my fault.
It's your fault.
I am kind of an enabler. When I hand you a mason jar of 110 proof,
here, hey,
espresso shine.
What's this? Some mistake I made. Try it.
I love mistakes.
Right.
Well, boys, come and check us out at the Connecticut Hunting and Fishing Expo here at Mohegan Sun. And
it's getting bigger, man. It's not like it used to be.
No.
It's killer. It's a lot of fun.
I see big things in the future. It's just going to get better and better and better.
Yeah. Great people running it. Everything about it is going good.
And also Birds and Booze. We will promote it here. You guys can come and check us out over at Point Brewery in Bloomfield. So thank you guys all. Distillery. What'd I say?
Brewery. Get beer off the mind, bro. Come on.
Well, everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.